guys, this is Erica Weston with Fox Sports Midwest, and you're listening to my favorite St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio.
Welcome to Season 9, Episode 6 of Let's Go Blues Radio. We're the often imitated but never duplicated, the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast. We're broadcasting live on Wednesday, October 6, 2020. This is franchise episode number 272 all time. Your hosts tonight are yours truly, Kurt Price and Jeff Ponder, and for your listening pleasure, for the next little while, we will be talking St. Louis Blues hockey. So to interact with the show on social media, you can follow the show on Twitter at LGB Radio. My handle is at Kurt Price. Jeff's is at JPond94. Our missing in action co-host, who is on assignment.
There it is.
His Twitter handle.
For it.
His Twitter handle is at Billy Blue Note. That's of course Bill Day. You can follow us on Instagram as well. We're dual live streaming right now on YouTube and Facebook. And for those of you watching the live show, live stream right now on either of those platforms, thank you for watching the live stream. And feel free to comment in the live chats, and we'll address what we can during the show. If you're listening to the podcast of this show later on, yes, we appreciate you too. Thank you as well. So, of course, the website is letsgoblues.com, where you can listen to or watch past episodes of the show, browse the fan discussion forum, as well as get some cool St. Louis Blues themed t-shirts and stickers that helps support the show. Speaking of supporting the show, we have...
Oh, yeah? What do you got here, Kurt? Sounds like you're segueing into something.
It's a bit of a segue. We've got a new sponsor. So support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you now by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. And for a limited time, you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code LGB at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And you can use the code LGB. Your balls will thank you. But so that's our spiel for the sponsor and the intro. We can talk more about them later.
And for anyone who's never heard of them, great product. Again, we'll get to them a little later. If you're watching the show, you can see we've got something up top for those of you. Just it reminds you of the promo code, and remember that supporting our sponsors supports us. The jerseys that we got earlier this year were supposed to help fund getting some live interviews with some Blues alumni. Obviously, COVID struck, and that changed our plans there. But that kind of innovation that we will have for the future as soon as we figure this out, that's the kind of stuff you'll get when you support our sponsors. So make sure you are going and checking out Manscaped if you are at all interested in their product. And we'll talk about them a little later.
Yeah, and this is not some, a lot of shows might just bring on any sponsor that would want to sponsor their show. That's not the way I would like to do things. That's not the way I know Jeff doesn't want to do things. This got to be something that we enjoy, that we can stand behind, that we like. It's not some. We're not. I don't want to be on the air, bullshitting people about the products that are sponsoring our show.
It's got to be a product that we'll use.
Exactly. Yes. So
yeah, and I'll add too, and just to clarify even more what Kurt's saying. One of us, I won't say who, our jobs, it's a big deal to have a sponsor. And we have to jump through some hoops. So, again, we're not just going to select anybody. We're going to select somebody we believe in.
Right. Again, we'll talk about them later in the show. Official beers of episode number 272. Jeff, what do you got?
Oh, well, I guess I'll do two, right? Since Bill's not here. Bill's on assignment. Well, the one I'll be drinking later is one of our favorites here on the show, the Old Arena Lager from Center Ice Brewery. But the one I'm drinking now is, I mentioned this on Twitter, didn't have this any year before. I don't know. This might be the first. This isn't the first year they've had the pumpkin spice, is it? At Center Ice?
I believe so. I don't think they had it last year.
Okay, well then that would be why I haven't had it before. So I've got the pumpkin spice lager, which I've said on the show before. The only pumpkin beer that I really, really and truly like from St. Louis is the O'Fallon, and then I like the Pumpkin from Southern Tier. Right, those are the only two pumpkin beers I enjoy.
Yep.
But this one, I tell you what, it's great. I mean, I'm sorry to our friends at Center Ice Brewery, Brody and Steve and everybody over there, but O'Fallon is still my favorite. But this is an excellent alternative, and I love supporting Center Ice. So if you haven't had their pumpkin spice lager, it's good stuff. It's definitely worth checking out. Go into their tasting room; they're open, and try it over there.
Jimmy Anderson in the YouTube chat says, "Cheers, fellas! Cheers, Jimmy." Austin Lynch says, "You don't understand how long I've been waiting for another live show."
I think we can probably look on the calendar and see when the last live show was.
I would think of all people, we would know how long he's been waiting. That's true. It's a good point. But no, live shows are great. I mean, the interview shows that Jeff does are fantastic. But the live shows are, I'm sure, a lot more laid back and casual for Jeff, and so maybe have a little more not fun is the word, but what's the word, Jeff?
It's a different kind of fun.
Different kind of fun.
I really enjoy. Yes, I really enjoy it lets me bring out the old media member side of me when I get the old players on or the members of the Blues on, and I can sit and like ask real questions and get into knowing them a little better. It's great. I love that. I miss that part of being in the media. But why we podcast, Kurt, is how it's the live shows. If I were just doing a pre-recorded show or I was interviewing people, I wouldn't have nearly as much fun. When I'm doing those shows, as much fun as they are, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, man, I can't wait till we do another live one, because interacting with the fans, getting to talk to you and Bill, those are the most fun we have together. And I think everybody remembers the Erica Weston episode last year when we were all drinking whiskey. That's the kind of fun I like to have on a podcast, and you're going to see more of that tonight.
Yeah, getting drunk during a Greg Millen interview was not the most professional thing you could do, right? I mean,
probably not.
So it's. Yeah.
Although I'm sure Erica Weston probably shouldn't get drunk with me either.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't get drunk until she left. Let's just put it like that.
Okay. Yeah.
When she left, I started slamming them a little harder.
She might cause a lot of people to drink when she leaves the room. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I meant it as a compliment.
Breaker?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sure. I don't know.
I meant.
Let's go with it.
Let's call it a compliment.
Compliment it is.
My beer of the Sode is. I'm not that kind of guy. I shouldn't say Sode. That was dumb.
Oh. You should say Epi.
Say Epi. I'm not a Sode. I'm not an Epi guy. I'm not a pod. I'm not a pod guy. I say the whole damn word. That's me.
Ferta.
No. Is a milkshake mochaccino milkshake porter from Burr Oak.
Burr Oak Brewing Company. Let's see that can.
Yeah, I do. There it is.
There we go. Oh,
mochaccino milkshake porter. I've had it on the show before. I believe it's really good, quite good. And I also have a second beer for the show. Once this is done, and this is almost gone actually. It's that good. I have a Pabst Blue Ribbon hard coffee.
Oh, dude, how is that?
It is. Okay, I don't like coffee, but I had a PBR hard coffee. It doesn't taste like coffee. It tastes like hard chocolate milk. It is delicious. It is really, really
try
good.
That.
I mean, if you're a coffee fan, if you really want a coffee flavor, it doesn't have it. It's got a very slight coffee flavor, But man, if it ignore the whole coffee part of the name. It's just a chocolatey, hard deliciousness in a can. That's good. So I'll have it in a little bit. That's a dessert beer.
I want to add, since we're talking about beers here, our friend Adam Gold over on Facebook, Winning Unlimited, when he's in the YouTube chat, says, I have been enjoying the pumpkin spice since Labor Day, and I do not care how much side eye I get from anyone. Enjoy your pumpkin spice lager, Jeff. I am, Adam, if you're having a beer right now, I cheers you, buddy. Because, yeah, same here, man. As soon as I saw that O'Fallon released their pumpkin, I was like, I'm going to Schnucks. Schnucks didn't have it, so I said, I'm going to Friar Tuck. Went to Friar Tuck, and it was there, and I was ecstatic. I think I bought 3 6-packs.
That's hanging the glass up to the camera there gives me a nice little filter. That's kind of a weird looking fisheye lens kind of a thing going on there. Huh.
So is this how we're going to do our show from now on?
Yeah, I should little fisheye lens show.
I'm sure our sponsor loves this.
Yeah, that's not annoying.
Ice and fuel glass, by the way, very nice, Kurt.
You like that? Yeah,
yeah.
Austin Lynch said, "Damn, y'all sponsored by Manscaped. This show going to the top. Damn straight.
We're already there, Austin. Come on.
We've been at the top. They've just joined us up there.
We've had Joe Micheletti on this show. Come on.
That's true. That is true. It's very true. What's the best cream of the cream? If you were to tell someone to impress them, just one guest that we've had on the show, what would you say? Bernie Federko? Over Grant Fuhr, huh?
Over Grant Fuhr. It depends on if they're from St. Louis,
right? I
tell them Bernie Federko. If it's anyone else, I tell them Grant Fuhr.
Yep.
But we've had, we've had some amazing guests, and I'm not just patting ourselves on the back here. We over the years, having Tom Calhoun on multiple times. Well, we do good things here, Kurt. There's a reason we've been around since 2011.
That's right.
We've had Jeremy Rutherford on multiple times. Ken Wilson.
Ken Wilson's that's one that is just impressive to have on, because you don't hear from Ken Wilson.
It took some research.
Anymore.
It took some research to get him.
Yeah, Bernie Federko's around. Don't get me wrong. This is not a slight on Federko. Federko's fantastic, and we talked to him at Kirkwood Station after the book signing.
R.I.P. Kirkwood Station.
Yeah, I know, right? But we basically one-on-one or 1-on-3 or 4, how many of us were there? Like JR and Federko and a few of us, and we're just sitting there talking. That was amazing. It was one of the best, most entertaining 30 minutes of my life. It was so cool.
I know that I've told you that night. You were like, oh, I'm sure this was just you, or the other guy, Jason, who listens to the show, that was with us, said, I'm sure this was just another normal night for you, like when you were back in the media. And I was like, no, I didn't get Bernie Federko drinking a beer telling me stories about his past. Yeah. That was one of the best nights of my life, too. That was unbelievable.
For 30 minutes, we were drinking buddies with Federko, and he would and the stuff that he couldn't put in the book, he's telling us.
Yep.
It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
And I will add Blue Note Fan Report, which is our friend Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan.
Hey, Guy.
He says, I got Grant Fuhr first. you are right.
Is it?
Yes, he did. Yeah. And it's funny because he had him on, and it was not 6 hours before I don't remember if he messaged us or if he just posted the episode, but it's something about, I got Grant Fuhr on the show. 6 hours before that, I had emailed the contact for Grant Fuhr to get him on our show. And I'm like, oh God, now I'm gonna look like I'm just following in Guy's footsteps. Guy, great job getting him first. Yes, that was awesome. And you did a great job in that interview as well.
Guy does a very unique show. And that's actually one of the things that I've preached on this show, is that, there are a lot of blues podcasts out there. Some stick around, some don't. But and I've always told people, if you want to do one, it's a lot of fun. But if you're going to do it, do your own thing. Be unique. Don't do what everyone else is doing. Why do that? Guy does his own thing.
Don't read box scores. Don't sit and just like, oh, the Blues won this game 3-2,
and then run down who scored, who assisted, and
make it your own. Another good example: 2 guys, 1 cup. Those guys are fantastic. They do their own show, and we love them for it. And that's what we praise whenever you get somebody doing a podcast, any kind of podcast. Make it unique, and you'll get some praise for it.
Because if you just do what half a dozen other podcasts are doing, and let's be honest, it's a very niche market. It's we're a podcast, a hockey podcast for St. Louis Blues fans. So we're very, it's St. Louis market. That's who our target market is. So it's that's who we're doing this for. So be unique and have fun. And do something that no one else is doing. And Guy does that. Guy does. It's a strictly YouTube show. I think he said he was going to start doing a podcast or podcasting his show. I'm not sure if he's done that yet or not. But he does a YouTube show, and he's a lot of stuff with graphics on the screen. So he does his own thing, which is cool. So today in Blues History, courtesy of the @STL Blues History Twitter account, October 7th.
Which is an exclusive segment of the show, by the way.
That is right. That's right. We started doing that. We just basically took STL Blues History's stick and moved it to a podcast.
we read tweets, folks. That's what we do on this show.
We let other people do the read. This is genius. Other people do the work, and we give them a plug and we just read their stuff. It's just that's the way to do it.
Exclusive segment of Let's Go Blues Radio that you can also see on Twitter every day.
That's right. But you don't get our commentary with this. So there's that.
Which is gold. Yeah, Jerry, gold.
That's gold. That's gold, Adam. Is that a locker room thing? That's gold, Adam. That's gold. No, is it?
Not so much. Maybe he probably says it, but not the rest of us. I will say though that he did score a goal in the last time I played with him, and I told him that goal was gold. I did tell him that.
The golden goal?
And it was. The golden goal. Yep.
October 7th, 2019, just last year, Jordan Binnington was credited with his first NHL assist on a goal scored by Oskar Sundqvist versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. In that same game, Alex Pietrangelo records his 400th point and 23rd game winner, passing Al MacInnis for most by a Blues defenseman in a 3-2 win versus the aforementioned Toronto Maple Leafs. October 7th, 1993. Brendan Shanahan recorded his 3rd career hat trick in the St. Louis Blues 5-3 win versus the Florida Panthers on opening night. First and only Blues hat trick on opening night, by the way. Brett Hull was hospitalized due to an injured spleen suffered during the game. I don't remember that. Do you remember the injured spleen?
I don't either. I don't remember that either. I don't remember him having an injured spleen. Do you know how long he was out for?
I don't. And that was 93. That was in like my peak, I don't know, 5 or 6 year window. It was where like all I cared about was hockey. I played hockey. I watched hockey. I live in a home with my parents. I get the paper and I just read the box scores and read the hockey articles, and disappointed at how short the articles were and how there weren't many of them. But I would just sit there for an hour just looking at the box scores in the NHL.
Okay, let's look at this real quick. So he was so that was October 7th. He was out until October 19th. I don't know how many games that was. I can check.
12 days, probably a few games, 3 or 4 games.
What did I say? The 19th he came back?
Yeah, so you said it's 12.
So it would have been, let's see, 1, 2, 3 3 games he missed.
That's it?
Man, pretty good.
Yeah.
That's why I don't remember it. I just figured injured spleen, he'd be out a while, but I guess not.
October 7th, 1967, the inaugural season of the St. Louis Blues. The Blues play their first game exhibition at the St. Louis Arena in a 3-3 tie versus the Los Angeles Kings. The first goal was scored by none other than Larry Keenan. I have his money clip.
Do you remember that? You remember that one, Kurt?
No, that was a good 7 years before I was actually born. So I'd probably have to be around at least 6 or 7 to remember it. but I was not. So October 7th, 2019, we were still celebrating being Stanley Cup champs from 2019.
I'm glad that has caught on with this show.
it's gonna. Well, you started that, so I'm like, well, that needs to stay in there. So.
Yep, no, it's true. I mean, I remember an October night, the Blues season had started. I went to a bar and I had a Blues shirt on, and a guy came up, bought me a shot, and said Stanley Cup champs, and I was like, season started, but we can still celebrate. Sure, why not? So yeah, it was still being celebrated at that point.
Let's see. Any other before we get started here? Jimmy Anderson. I'm not. It's dangerous to read a Jimmy Anderson comment.
It really is
without proofreading it first.
Mm-hmm.
You guys should do the show holding the glass as a filter, and Bill should hold up a tampon as his. Man, he's going after Bill.
Huh. Yeah, he's gone after Bill a couple times tonight, which he has before. You know what? Bill probably deserves it. Not gonna lie.
I mean, if Jimmy Anderson plays hockey, maybe we should set up like a penalty shot competition or something against Bill.
That would be amazing. I would, dude. I would want it. I want to do that. Don't give that to Jimmy. Let me do that.
You'd be there. You could take some shots. I mean, come on.
Okay, I guess. And then, yeah, Jimmy also adds. I'm sorry, this was Austin. Looks like Jeff's got the mullet. Yeah. Let me take my hat off here. Yeah, I got the flow going, folks. I enjoy it. I had to shave the beard because I felt like
we enjoy looking at it.
I felt like I was a little too hairy with the beard, so I decided to cut that down. But I will say the cold fall day on Monday made me say, I think I want the beard back.
Probably one of the best names we've had in the YouTube chat. Brad Warthog says Billy versus Jimmy Throwdown.
I'm all down. That would be amazing.
Yeah, we'll have to try and set that up someday.
This is like the I don't want to say the B version of Bieber versus Binnington. It's like the T version. It's how far down the alphabet we have to go. Yeah. But yeah, Jimmy Anderson is like Bieber. Billy is like good old Binnington. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Rapid fire tidbits from around the NHL before we get into the Blues draft talk and the Pietrangelo talk that is going to be so riveting.
What are we going to talk about with Pietrangelo?
I mean, you know, free agency is on Friday at noon. That's when it starts.
Oh.
So there could be all. I mean, we could talk about all kinds of things, like where he could go. Are we going to sign him? Are we going to sign and trade him? You know, all kinds of stuff we can talk about. And
that's probably not. I don't think Blues fans want to hear that. Let's just not talk about that at all.
You don't think so?
Nobody wants to hear that. Let's recap the draft all show.
It's like, what, 40 hours away? Something like that? 39 hours away from
that's still so far away. Nobody wants to hear it.
So we would love.
All right, don't worry, folks. We're going to skip over the Pietrangelo talk, okay?
No, we'd love to hear the feedback from the folks in the chats in Facebook and YouTube to see what they how their takes on the Pietrangelo situation. So, but we'll get that in a minute. So, rapid fire tidbits from the NHL. Congratulations to Pat Maroon, Kevin Shattenkirk, and the rest of the Tampa Bay Lightning on winning the Stanley Cup. Jeff, I had a question for you. Do you think the players care that they won the cup with everything messed up due to the pandemic? Do you think it bothers them?
I mean, I'm sure there's a part of them. I mean,
like they don't have the fans there, right? The atmosphere, the energy. They can't celebrate like they would, with the public. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so the boat parade was cool, but it was a little odd.
Yeah, it was socially distanced.
Yeah, and I mean they care. Obviously, I mean, you want your fans in the stands screaming, yelling. Even when the Blues won it in Boston, there was Blues fans there, and we've heard from some of them that they'll never forget that for the rest of their lives. I mean, that's just something that it's going to feel like it was yesterday. So yes, I guarantee Lightning players were sitting there, you know, there's no looking up in the stands. You know, Pat Maroon wins. He looks up in the stands and see Anthony sitting there. There was none of that. players looking up in the stands and seeing Blues fans waving a towel or a flag or something. I'm sure there was some of that in the Boston arena when the Blues won. There was none of that for Tampa. So yes, you're looking for that kind of stuff, and it sucks that you can't celebrate that with your fans at the time. And then again with the parade, it was just it's different. Even if there was people complaining. I saw on social media. What people on social media complaining? I know it's a shock.
What?
But yeah, I saw some people saying, it didn't look like there was a lot of social distancing going on, not a lot of masks, blah 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 blah, whatever. There's still a conscious effort of I can't take my beer and pour it into a fan's mouth. I can't have a fan come up and drink out of the Stanley Cup. Like, there's still those conscious thoughts, especially guys who've won it before, like Pat Maroon. So you're aware of it, you're conscious of it, but man, you're still just ecstatic. I mean, guys like Kevin Shattenkirk been waiting their whole lives for this, and it's a dream come true.
It's gonna be interesting when when all this stuff dies down, we have a vaccine. And the coronavirus is not talked about every day. It's going to be interesting whether that takes 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever. It's going to be interesting to see how much is everyone retains from this. Like as far as like you said, pouring beers into other fans' mouths and stuff like that. I imagine things will go back to normal, assuming we have the vaccine and the numbers go down to almost non-existent, numbers. If hopefully that's the case, but you wonder if will things get back to the way it was before? Will players be able to party with the fans in the bars and stuff afterwards and pour beers in other people's mouths and stuff like that? I would guess yes, but man, that might take a while. And then when you see it happening, you're going to think, oh man, I hope he doesn't have a virus or anything. Because you know what I mean? Because like 2 years ago or even a year ago, you weren't thinking that at all. You weren't thinking, I mean, not really. I mean, you might think, oh, that's kind of gross. He spit in that cup. He might get the common cold, but that's about it.
When we were celebrating at Ballpark Village after the Blues won, there was literally a guy with a champagne bottle just grabbing guys and telling them to get down on one knee and just pouring champagne down our mouths. Nobody cared. No. Yeah, give me more, man. Let's party.
You know what? I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, so maybe I think about that stuff more. I didn't, but it wasn't really oh my gosh, I might get herpes kind of situation. It was oh my God, I might have a sore throat tomorrow or whatever, and that kind of a thing. You know what I mean? And not
you doing, Kurt, having a sore throat.
If you're sharing a glass with somebody, if they're sick, you know what I mean?
I'm a bad dick. Sorry.
You're a bad dick. That's what
I'm a bad dick.
That's what you said.
Rather dickish.
You are the, what's the quote that you had? I forgot. There's something about the dickness.
I don't remember. I'm down with the dickness.
Maybe. Yeah.
There's a pull quote right there. Down with the dickness.
And you saw side-by-side pics of the I tweeted this out. Side-by-side pics from when the plane flight home from Boston, and then the plane flight home from the Tampa head. So the compare and contrast. So the Blues, everyone's seen the picture of Maroon and O'Reilly, like just drunk off their ass. One's holding the cup, one's holding the Hart Trophy, and they're just like, not the Hart Trophy, the Conn Smythe, and they're just like just beers flowing, and everybody's drunk and just all over each other. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're all sitting in their seats, they're calm, looking forward. Everyone's like in their own little space, and it's now there may have been a little bit of partying before or after the photo, who knows? But it's just funny to see the two photos side by side that were taken, and how the difference between what it was before coronavirus and after. So, and that led to my question: do you think it is? It's because the players don't get to spend the day with a cup in the off season either, because they have that taken away from them. And the season and the training camp might start in mid-November, which we'll talk about later, which was talked about. So it's right around. It's like a month away. So Yeah,
I mean, you could still party your ass off for the next couple weeks,
sure.
But I mean, I'd say by October 20th, you need to start considering, okay, I can still party, but I got to get back to my diet. I got to get back to working out every day. I mean, it's a very short off season.
Maybe this is a shrewd plan by the Blues to exit the playoffs early, to have that extra time off for the short off season. Usually for the Stanley Cup chance, it's already a short off season, but this is going to be a really short off season. I mean,
then the Anaheim Ducks really have it figured out. They have almost a year of an off season.
Yeah, that's true. That's almost too long. Remember the Detroit Tigers against the Cardinals in 2006 in the World Series? They had a week off, which is like everyone's talking about. Oh my God, that's a week off. They're going to get cold, and the Cardinals they couldn't throw the ball to first base. So
yep. No, you know what I thought was really weird about the Stanley Cup, and I guess that they wanted to do something different, but before they even gave the cup to Stamkos, I thought the whole picture with the cup with Bettman, I thought that was odd, and I guess it was supposed to like show that we're all united. And I mean, I don't really know. Honestly, I didn't understand it. Bettman said it was something the Lightning wanted. What it makes me think it was something the NHL probably wanted. Did you? I'm guessing you saw what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had the whole thing on the background. I was not.
I just didn't. I didn't understand that. Like, you're going to get a team picture with the cup later. Why are you taking no fans in the crowd and you're all taking a picture of the whole team with the cup with Bettman? That just that was odd and kind of out of place to me. But yeah, the celebration was. I don't know. I said this during Game 6. I was starting to kind of get sad, honestly, by the time the Stanley Cup final had rolled around, because it is weird not having those fans. And Bennington said it after the Blues exited, and you can say it was a cop-out all you want, but, I mean, how exciting is it when you win? Think of Pat Maroon in Game 7 against the Stars last year, winning that game at home in 2 OT in front of your home crowd. I mean, that has got to be the greatest feeling in the world. Now, you look at flashback to Game 1 between the Lightning and the Blue Jackets of this past season. That won, 5 overtimes? Yeah. Very thrilling to end it. But with no crowd there,
I know.
It's just not the same feeling.
I'm going to be honest. When the Blues were still in it, I was very into it, right? But there's something about, and usually, in years where the Blues would be eliminated, and I would go through the mourning process, and I'd pick up watching the playoffs again. I'd be excited and into it for just for the mere fact of watching playoff hockey. I didn't have it this year. Getting back into it after the Blues were out was really difficult. I wonder how fans of other teams who had teams that weren't in it, how they saw that, if they saw it the same way, because it was, I guess I didn't realize how much that, I don't get me wrong, I love the game itself and the actual watching the players on the ice and the skill level of the playoffs and how people amp it up. But there's also that atmosphere that is just amazing. And comes from the crowd. And that comes across, it's pretty evident on TV. So more so than I thought before. So it's an interesting contrast to see the playoffs this year as opposed to last year. I had a hard time getting excited about games after the Blues were done.
I did too.
Yeah. So
I mean, going into the playoffs when they had the round, the 5-game play-in round or whatever, and then they had the just everything leading into the first round and then the first round itself, I was all about. I was watching games. I was at work and I'd have the TV on over my shoulder and I'd be watching every single game that was possibly on. And I caught every bit of action and I loved it. It was great. It was fantastic. But like you, and this has never happened to me before, usually the Blues lose and I just say, oh, well, let's see who wins the cup. And I'm still going to watch every game that I can. And there's hockey on 24/7 as much as possible. And this year wasn't the same. Like, I remember I turned on the Golden Knights and Canucks game 1 in like the second period. I watched about 5 minutes and I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to watch this anymore. And I turned it off. And my wife was even like, are you okay? You just turned off a hockey game.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Is it that the Blues won the cup last year and now I don't care about watching their teams? Or is it this whole bubble hockey thing? Like I could never really figure it out. But I think it's more just the fact that the atmosphere it wasn't the same. And it just, I don't know. It was a little more draining on me to watch because it made me, and I said this, I think, on a previous show, that when I watch hockey, I forget about real world problems. I sit there and I focus on the game, and that's all I care about is what's going on the screen. This year, seeing the empty stadiums, the empty arenas, it just kept reminding me, even when the Blues were playing, oh yeah, we're in the middle of a pandemic.
And I thought that they did a really good job considering like filling out the stands, putting the tarps down, and they had the whatever the screens or whatever they were up, looked really good. I liked the way they how that looked, but it's not fans, it's not the same. So anyway, the Blackhawks, which we're going to talk about the draft in a little bit. Moving on to the Blackhawks, they apparently tried to move up in the NHL entry draft on Tuesday from the 17th pick that they had to draft Yaroslav Askarov, the generational goalie talent that everyone was really high on, who was eventually taken by Nashville at number 11. Great to have him in the Central Division, isn't it? When he comes up.
The next Merrick Schwartz.
Let's hope, right?
Yeah, let's hope.
Nobody wanted to help Chicago out. So that was pretty good. I guess as far as, if Chicago had gotten him, I'd have been, not that they're anything right now, but who knows in a few years. So,
they're saying that this kid could come in and possibly be a big deal in 2 to 3 years. And at that point, you're still talking a solid core there in Chicago with Taves, Kane, and Keith.
Yep. So that didn't happen, but it's still in the Central Division. So we'll probably get to see him a lot. So
what does that tell you? What does that tell you that Nashville took him? What was your first thought?
That
they're not sold on UC Saros is what that told me.
Which is weird. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But to be honest, when he comes, okay, so say he comes up in 3 years, right? And then he might be back up for a year. That's 4 years down the road. Saros, I don't know. I look at his contract if we could see what it is. He might. Who knows what he's going to be doing in 3 or 4 years? So
the thought was that he was going to take the mantle from Pekka Rinne and be the perennial starter for the next 7, 8, 9 years. And I think them taking, which at this point it's a 17th pick, and you're getting a generational goalie supposedly.
Sure.
You need to take him if you can. At the very least, he's an excellent trade chip.
Saros's contract is up after this coming season. So,
yeah, and so is Rinne's, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, same time. So they're again with goaltending. We've talked about goaltending on this show so much, and 3 years down the road, your goaltending, Blues fans should know because they rarely stick with a goaltender more than a few years. So who knows what their goaltending is going to look like? I think this is a great pick for them, for anybody really. They were raving about this pick. I forgot who it was. Was it McGuire who said that goalies typically drop? They don't get high. They don't typically get picked that high in the draft. And he was like, "Screw that! This guy is the real deal. He's gonna be a great goalie in the league." They were comparing him to Brodeur, which I was like, "My God, are you serious?"
Yeah, I haven't. I remember, and honestly, I know I made the joke earlier, but this reminded me of when Merrick Schwartz was picked by the Blues, because he was a guy that was supposed to be picked in like the top 10, and he just kept dropping, and people were like, "This kid's good. Like it doesn't matter if you don't need a goalie. He's the best player available. Take him."
Right.
And the Blues did. I think it was like number 12 or 13 they got him. And they were raving that that's a great pick for the Blues. It doesn't matter that they are kind of stocked in goal right now. I think at the time they still had I can't even remember when that was, but I want to say they had some goalie prospects at the time, and they still took him. And it was, you had to take the best player available. And that's what I think Nashville did Oh my goodness!
You see that?
Look at that.
That's for those on the YouTube show. That's the PBR hard coffee. It looks like chocolate milk, does it not?
That really does. I'm going to give that a shot. I love me some PBR, so I'm going to definitely give that a shot.
It doesn't taste like
but
PBR.
Anyway,
it doesn't taste like beer. It doesn't taste like coffee. It tastes like hard chocolate milk.
I feel like Nashville had to make that pick, but at the same time, I think that is definitely going to be a wake up call to UC Saros to pick his game up if he wants to be the starter in Nashville.
Again, that's a few years down the road too. So
we'll see.
So much can change. I don't. That's you can never. I mean, and if Saros is a all-star, a top 5 goalie in the NHL at the time that he comes up, then they got a trade chip. So they could always move somebody for something valuable. So it's a win-win. A breakdown of the first 31 picks in the NHL draft yesterday, the first round. Canada had 19 of the 31. Canada 19, Russia 4, Germany 2, Sweden 2, USA 2, Austria 1, Finland 1. That is pretty dominant.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've seen a lot of U.S. and Russian guys. Well, maybe not so much Russian, but Sweden and Finland as well. They've been kind of bringing that number down for Canada. But last year was definitely definitely a harken to the old days of Canada basically being the only country worthwhile of taking players in the first round.
I don't want to keep talking about my hard coffee, but I had it in the freezer behind me, and I just took it out, and it's like it's a little ice chippy. It's even better. It's
nice,
almost like a shake of sorts. Really good.
I'm really excited to go get that.
Yeah, they come in 4-packs. They ain't cheap, but they're good. You'll like it. I can't imagine you not liking it. Brad Marchand lost the fishing contest, and he, being the loser, had to bite the head off of a dead fish. That's on YouTube if you want to look at it. It's kind of funny. He does not like it. So that was pretty good. I imagine
he would.
Pretty funny.
Good. Just desserts.
Good, right? Yeah. Eat the dead head fish. Connor McDavid tested positive for the coronavirus, which just shows to Goya that how good the quarantine, the bubble situation was that they did for the NHL players.
Well, did you hear how Connor McDavid got coronavirus?
How did Connor McDavid get the virus?
He bit the head off of a dead fish. Pretty weird. Those two stories tied in.
Now they're going to contact trace, and they got to quarantine Brad Marchand.
They're gonna quarantine all the fish in that lake too.
Seth Rohrbaugh, who's a Penguins writer, said that Tristan Jarry indicated that he and his teammates have been told to prepare for training camp to start on November 15th. So that is, I mentioned that earlier. So if that's true, that may be a tentative date. I'm sure it is. But
doesn't that just seem soon, though? I mean,
it does seem very soon.
He came out and said yesterday
1st.
At the draft, January 1st was going to be their target date, which is something, by the way, we said a long time ago. We called it. We said there's no way they start in December. They're starting in January.
Yeah, and we even toyed with the idea of the Winter Classic being the first game if they should have it. And so that's...
But training camp, I mean, I guess maybe if they're going to do some kind of what they did to return to play, if it was like, okay, we're going to do phase 1 and everybody's going to come and just skate. Phase 2 starts on December 1st. And if they do that, maybe, but I just feel like if they're going to target January 1st, I mean, a month and a half before to start training camp, that seems really soon.
But, in the past, training camps have started a month before. They start in September. Early September.
But they also didn't have a tournament that went on just a couple months before that.
True. I mean, they would be, honestly, they would be in training camp for a week or 10 days, and they'd start preseason games. So this is a little bit early, a little bit more time for training camp, which is, I guess, by a couple weeks. But everything's tentative right now. I mean, the January 1st date is tentative. I'm sure this November 15th training camp date is tentative. And that's probably the earliest that they would do it. But Man, that's don't get me wrong. I'd love to see hockey come back. I mean, I'd love to see hockey on the TV tomorrow, but that seems so soon.
I'm gonna make a crazy claim here, and I'm gonna say training camps come back in the NHL the week after American Thanksgiving.
So like late November, like early December,
yep.
like first
late November, early December
1st.
So Thanksgiving this year is on the 26th. So that would be November 30th. Yeah, November 30th would be my guess as to when they're going to open training camps.
Okay. All right. I will take the under on that. Just because.
Okay. Just because.
Bill
could take the over.
Well,
we'll claim it for him.
Well, if there's validity to the November 15th date, I'll say this before. The Flames will be wearing their original sweaters this season. Now, has this been determined if it's going to be every game? What does full retro mean? Is it every game, or is it like a third jersey?
I guess that's every game.
Because they've brought this back as a third jersey before. They've recently. But now
and
full
it's
retro,
a good fucking look.
I've loved these are the best jerseys by far.
They are the best. The best.
The Flames are one of those teams that, in my opinion, have had some of the most horrendous jersey designs over the past 30 years.
What was that flaming bullhead or whatever they had that one time?
Flaming bullhead. They had that stupid diagonal stripe coming out of the bottom of the stripes that ended at the underneath the logo for no reason. That was so stupid.
Yeah.
What the hell was that? Just and the Kings too. The Flames and the Kings and the Canucks. I've hated their jerseys. I do like the throwback retro Vancouver, the stick and the rectangle. That's kind of cool, retro-y, cool. But man, the Kings and the Flames. Ugh,
but awful. These original Flames jerseys are beauts.
Yep,
I love them. So hopefully that is. When they say full retro, they mean that is all season, because that would be amazing.
So if the Blues were to go full retro for the whole season, what would you want them to wear?
Oh, the original jerseys,
like the
67, the 67,
the Winter Classic style, or the thirds from or the vintage from last season. I like the heritage ones better.
I guess the heritage ones. Yeah,
personally,
that's what I'd go with.
That'd
be cool. Did you go to the alumni game and the Winter Classic alumni game?
I did the One Nation thing. No, I went to
whatever it was.
No, I went to the One Nation celebrity, which had some alumni, a lot of celebrities.
They might have worn the same jersey, but the alumni, they wore a white version of that jersey. And I love that jersey. It was a take off the old 67 jerseys. Yep. And I love those. I would love to see those brought back.
I would love to see a number of them brought back. I would love to see those brought back. If not those, I'd love to see the ones from was it 92, like late 80s, early 90s? The rounded corner blue note with the Hall & Oates era ones. I loved those.
The ones right after where they had the blues across the top.
Yes. The blues across the top.
Yeah, those are great too. Those are beautiful.
Yeah, I love those.
The blues at top were terrible, but the ones right after, those are beautiful.
Right. Yeah, that's
the ones that had like a red
pin stripe.
Line,
thin stripe.
Yep. Yeah,
around the
which
stripes.
Was perfect.
It was good. Perfect. Yeah. Yep.
Then they went crazy with it for the jerseys after that, the clown jerseys, which apparently people love now.
Like I've said in the show, I like them a few times a year. I share Bernie Federico's opinion on the whole thing. He goes, you know what? They're fun for a few games a year as a throwback, but not all the time because it's just not a good design.
I'd love for them to do what I think the NBA's doing it. I want to say the Arizona Diamondbacks are doing it, having like 6 or 7 jerseys. And they're all just throwbacks. Every one of them. Every style the Blues have ever worn. I would, as bad as those ones with the Blues written across the top.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to see current players wearing that right now.
Bring them back. Bring each one back for 2 games. That'd be great.
Yep. I think that'd be great. I'd love it.
what happened was, and I didn't realize this was going to happen until it did, that the clown jerseys, when they wore them last season, a few times, when I watched the games, I would see the numbers, and I would instantly say, "Oh, it's number so and so. That's Corson, or that's somebody from that clown era." I'm like, I instantly thought that was them on the ice
I think we talked about that when it happened, because I kept looking and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, and it wasn't like a conscious thing. I would see a number, like I'm drawing a blank on a number right now, but I would see a
Anderson.
Tikkanen, number 10. Yeah. I would see that and I would just be like, oh, it's Esa Tikkanen. I'm like, right. Whoa, where did that came from in my brain? That's crazy.
It was so neat. That was cool. I was like, oh my gosh. All of a sudden I'm watching and picking out numbers and it's like, yeah, it was neat. So the Blues extend qualifying offers to 4 restricted free agents. So we're finally getting into some Blues talk here. Vince Dunn, Boganski, Rinke, Wallman. This was expected. Would have been shocking had they not done this. It's funny. So it's a little RFA 101 for those who may not know how qualifying offers work. Most people don't understand. I'm going to guess most people, based on the comments I read on social media after they did this, most people don't really understand what a qualifying offer means. I saw a lot of this stuff. The chances of signing Pietrangelo just got worse, or I wouldn't be upset if Dunn didn't get qualified. And I'm like, first off,
would be, because that means you're not getting anything for him.
That's what I said. I mean, so tendering qualifying offers allows the club the opportunity to retain a player's rights through the free agency period, negotiate a contract during that time, and then to begin the arbitration process if they can't come to an agreement on a contract during the free agency period. That's the way
if they're eligible for arbitration.
Yes. Right. Yes. So unless a player is pretty worthless or not tradable, or you want nothing to do with him, you qualify him every time. Otherwise, you lose the asset for nothing, like you said, via free agency. Someone will take him or not, or he'll just leave.
Yeah, they become unrestricted.
Right.
Who was it that I heard today? There was there was 2 guys I heard were not qualified by their teams, and so they're going to become unrestricted free agents, which is a death sentence basically for a GM, because if it's a player they love, because if it's, oh, we're not going to qualify this guy. Okay, well, this guy was great and he just signed and we got nothing and he's going to go play top line minutes. That's why these guys get qualified, because if another team does try to sign them to a contract, the Blues are due compensation to get something back.
Yes.
So let's just say Vince Dunn, the biggest name from this, and Kurt, I'm probably mowing your lawn here, but I know that this was where you're going with this, is that if Vince Dunn is let's say the Toronto Maple Leafs are like, let's sign Vince Dunn to a 2-year, $5 million per contract. The Blues, depending on I'd have to look up the RFA rights, but they would be owed, I think, at least a first-round pick,
depending on how much they sign him
on
for.
The contract.
Yeah. It's the dollar value. The more he signs,
it's the dollar value of the contract.
It's an offer sheet. So the more that the offer sheet, if they don't match, then they take a certain amount of first-round draft picks as compensation. Yeah.
That's why back in the day when, I don't know if everybody remembers, when Shea Weber was offer sheeted by the Philadelphia Flyers, they signed him to a ridiculous upfront, front-loaded deal because they thought there's no way Nashville is going to take it. But if they would have signed it, I remember reading that basically the Predators would have gotten the Flyers' first-round pick for like the next 3 years, plus like 2 additional third-round picks. And it would have been an astronomical amount, but if it's like a good player that you think helps you right now, maybe you make that move. But it's basically like making a trade for the team that tries to qualify, or that tries to sign him to an offer sheet.
So if the player does, so you qualify a player and you can't agree on a contract, goes to arbitration. Edmondson last year is a good example. So this happened in Edmondson. He went to arbitration with the Blues. They couldn't agree on a contract. A judge determines how much the player will make based on the offers that are presented. and then the Blues had to accept that, but then they had the option of then trading him, so then they did. And that was in the Falk deal. So that could happen with Dunn. There's a real possibility that the two off seasons in a row, we could go to arbitration with a defenseman, and then trade him after the hearing. If Dunn goes to arbitration, if he's arbitration eligible, I don't know if he is. So we'll see what happens with Dunn. Going to arbitration is not common. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot. It happens every year, I guess, with someone. But you'd think that Dunn would sign for something. Probably get 1.2, something like that, maybe. He had I
don't know. Hard to speculate on. I know that I think the average number of arbitrations per year, it's 10 in the NHL. So, obviously not every team deals with this every year, right. But every now and then it comes up. And there's a possibility we could see that with Vince Dunn and the Blues, but I think it's more likely we see a deal worked out before that.
I agree. And he made his cap hit was $722,500 last year. So, 1.25 I think is fair for him. Maybe that's the most. I can't imagine him getting more.
How long until he's UFA eligible?
Oh, I don't know. He's
I want to say it's 2 years,
but
I could be wrong.
He's 5 years. He's had 5. His last contract was 3 years. Last contract
3
was 3
years.
years.
He's okay.
The last contract was 3 years.
That means long. So I think that means 2 years he'd be UFA eligible. So I could see him signing a bridge deal, which would be maybe about what you said. Well, 1.2, 1.3 per.
On Cap Friendly, he's got 5 years of salary history, but it says the length of his last contract was 3 years.
Yeah, he's the 2 years was the entry level deal.
Okay, yeah, I see it there. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. So I think that means that in 2 years he will be eligible for UFA. So that means the Blues will sign him to a bridge deal, probably. I guess they could lock him up long term if they want, but with the names that are in the pipeline, I don't see them going that route right now with him.
No.
Plus, he's not a top 2 defenseman on this team, and he knows it. I think his agent knows it. They're going to push for a long-term deal, but they know that they're just going to try to get top dollar at a bridge deal. And I'll add too what we're saying earlier about people freaking out about the RFAs. If you don't understand restricted free agents and unrestricted free agents, that's more than fine. This is the business side of hockey, and I don't expect most hockey fans to understand that. It's fine. It's the again, we joke about the vocal minority. It's the people who have to comment on Facebook and Twitter and why Austin Pagansky? Why? He played one game and he was awful. And they're signing him to a long deal. This is hey, we're just protecting our assets that we brought in whether through draft or trade or whatever. They're just protecting these players in case somebody tries to come after them. So it's the right move as a GM if you have any kind of long-term plans for your players, even if that just includes being an AHL player.
Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers a precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code LGB at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code LGB. Your balls will thank you. This is funny because we actually were approached by Manscaped. We didn't approach them. They approached us, which was flattering. They said that they liked our show. They liked what we did, and they wanted to try it out to see if be a sponsor for a while, see how it works. So we were happy to go on board with them because it's fine. Because I actually seen them on. I was familiar with them. I think you were too, Jeff. It's
I was
ads
too.
online.
Yep.
Yeah, ads online. I saw them on Shark Tank. I don't know, like a couple months ago, maybe. And if you're familiar with Shark Tank, it's where people, they take their products and their businesses on there, and then they get investors, big name investors, to help grow the company. And so I saw them on there. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But and I literally had some stuff in my Amazon cart for Manscaped when they contacted us to be on the show as a sponsor. And I was like, well, that's cool. That's so I was okay. And so they sent us some stuff, and we got to try it out. And yeah, it's I love their marketing. I love the attitude of the company. And as I said earlier in the show, Jeff, that we wouldn't bring on a sponsor that we weren't happy with. I wanted to be able to be truthful about what we're saying about a sponsor.
Yeah, and I'm very truthful when I say, I mean, I think I've even mentioned this on the show before, that I am a guy who likes to trim up. I manscape myself, and it's I don't mind saying it. I mean, my teammates at hockey, a lot of them do too, and it's just, for me, it I sweat less, so it makes me much more comfortable when I'm playing hockey. I'm a runner. I like to run, and so it's hard to find product that will allow me to properly groom myself and not create nicks and cuts and yeah, it's uncomfortable when you're trying to run 6 miles, do a 10K, and you've got a nick on your balls. I mean, let's be honest. That's not something we want to deal with. It's very uncomfortable just walking around, let alone trying to be athletic. So, they have an item they sent us, the Lawnmower 3.0, which is, yeah, Kurt's holding it up right here if you're watching the video. It is the best trimmer that I've used on my body, and it's marketed to work for just your balls.
Should I turn it on?
Go ahead.
Is it light?
And you know what's beautiful about that light, man? You know what? They're and it's quiet too.
Yeah,
so
no,
if you're afraid,
yeah.
if you don't want your significant other finding out that you're manscaping, it is quiet, and you can use it in the shower too. It's water resistant, which I have. I'll admit, I've used it in the shower. And the thing about the light that's great, my mom always used to tell me when I was a kid, I would go back out to the woods, and I'd say, "Hey,
you're talking about your mom and a shaving your balls story,"
and she would say, well, make sure you grab a flashlight. And she was right. When I'm going out in the woods, you need a flashlight so you can see where you're going. And that's exactly what the Lawnmower 3.0 does. It gives you a light the minute you turn it on, so you see what you're doing, even if you're in the shower. It's a huge help.
The light was a nice surprise. To be honest, when I got this and I first started using it, I didn't know it had a light on it. And I turned it on, like, oh, there's a light. That's fantastic. That is a brilliant little simple thing. That's great. And you know what? The thing about this is not okay. This is 2020. It's not vintage 70s porn out there anymore. Where men and women are keeping things under control under the waistline, behind the waistband right nowadays. So. And you don't want to use the same shaver on your face and your balls. That's not. No, because the face and the balls. If you shave both, there's a big difference. So and this thing has the ceramic blades, and the way the guard is prevents nicks that you would get otherwise with a regular shaver. So that's, and the confidence that you have using this thing compared to something on using your face.
Unbelievable.
Oh my God, the fear you have using a different shaver. Yeah. Oh my God, you're it's like you're holding your breath every time, and all of a sudden, bang, you get nicked. Like, son of a bitch.
Yep.
But you don't get that with this.
Not at all. And I'll admit, when I first started using that, I was like, okay, be careful. Dude, I've used it twice now. I just the second time I used it, it was like shaving my face. I was so comfortable and confident using it. It's a great product. And again, we don't just say that because they're sponsoring us. Let's put it like this. They are sponsoring us because we are comfortable letting them sponsor us because we believe in their product.
Right. We could have said no. We've turned down other people who've said, "Hey, we can sponsor your show." And like, nah, whatever. Ignore them because I don't. They seem like not a reputable business, or we don't like the product or whatever. But this has a 90-minute battery life on it, which I'm not sure what you got going on downstairs. We need 90 minutes to shave yourself, but if you do, this will take care of you. So
I only need a solid 85, and I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess that's nice if you take it on vacation. You're going to use like every day to like keep to maintain a certain level of a growth there. But and also should be said, and this is a thing that when you cut your grass, the trees look taller.
That's true. That is definitely true. So any of you single guys who are thinking, well, I don't have a woman to impress, you might soon. So keep that in mind.
And
it's not just the trimming either. I mean, they've got great shampoo, they've got conditioner, they've got everything over at manscaped.com. Everything you need to just stay fresh. And go ahead, Kurt.
I was pointing to the
manscaped.com.
Yeah,
right up
and
here.
Promo code, the LGB promo code to get 20% off and free shipping for their products.
Yeah, and if you go over to manscaped.com, again, you're helping this show by using that promo code LGB. Continue using it. Christmas season's coming up. Maybe you got a man in your life, a friend, a boyfriend, whoever you are listening to the show. That's a great company to check out. I put on their body wash the other day, and I typically use pretty good body wash, but I walked out and I just sat down, and my wife sat next to me, and she said, "What are you using? Is that different?" I mean, it was like the second night I used it. It wasn't right away, but she did notice it. And I was like, yeah, this is that new Manscaped stuff. She's like, oh, it smells nice. So they have everything they have is fantastic. They're a great company. Manscaped.com, promo code LGB, 20% off plus free shipping. That is a really nice discount on their product. So definitely check them out.
You get the shaver, the lawnmower 3.0, and then you get the body lotions and the body washes that they've got on the bottle. It says how it kind of maintains your pH balance after doing your grooming. So that's kind of important too. So you kind of maintain to avoid any drying out.
Your body's like a
itching.
giant pool, basically.
It really is. I mean, you don't want to be itchy or anything. So you got to. That's. So anyway, we've used this stuff, and I'm not, and I don't want to, and it sounds so much like a commercial, and I hate that, but their boxers that they sent us, the most comfortable pair of boxer briefs that I own, and I'm like, you know what? Everything this company does that we've tried so far has been really fucking good, and even the boxer briefs is like, oh my god, so yeah, whatever. I think give it a shot, and don't kid yourself. The lady folks, they appreciate a man who, at least maintains himself below the waist.
And keep in mind, because we do have some ladies listen to the show, believe it or not. Again, Christmas coming up. It's a great item, great stuff to look at there.
And this code's available for 30 days. So. Use it. And again, if you do use the code, if you do shop there, we recommend you do use the code LGB at manscaped.com, and it will benefit this show as well. So we appreciate that very much. The Blues draft picks from the
before we get to that, we got a couple comments I want to get to real quick. First of all, Robert Dunn is an awesome dude. This is a guy who found us because of our jerseys, actually. He followed All Black Hockey Sticks, and he found that they posted the jerseys, and he said, "Oh man, those are great! I want one." Which, by the way, if you want a Let's Go Blues Radio jersey, contact me, jponder94@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to set you up with one. But Robert Dunn says, when the home team wears throwbacks, the road team should have that option for that game as well. And I'm 100% with you, Robert. There was, and that was in the Facebook chat, by the way. So make sure you're joining us on Facebook if you haven't already. I agree 100%, Robert. I've been posting on my YouTube channel some highlights from games from the 03-04 season. And that was the year that all of the expansion 6 teams started wearing retro jerseys when they played each other. And I just saw clips from a game of the Kings and the Blues in LA. The Kings are wearing their purple and gold, and the Blues are wearing their retro jerseys too. And it was a really cool look. Like Bernie Federko kept talking about how he felt like he was back in his olden days. I'm all for that. I think they should have, like when the Blues had their retro night against Calgary, Calgary should have worn their retro jerseys. Why not?
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's a really aesthetically pleasing thing to see.
You know what the Cardinals did a while back? A number of years ago, they had a retro. Both teams wore like old school jerseys, and then they had old school graphics on the screen. And every inning, by decade, I guess. So every inning, they changed the graphics to how it was the next decade and until modern day. That was really cool because you got to see the graphics on the screen from 80, 90 years ago. Well, it wasn't on TV 90 years ago, but early on.
I get you. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Early on in the first ball games first on TV.
What you meant to say is what you would see on the radio. What you would see on the radio,
right? That's it. Who was on the radio? With so and so, I saw it on the radio. It wasn't a baseball broadcaster. When it was Jack Buck or Harry Carey? I think it was Harry Carey. With Harry Carey, I saw it on the radio. I feel like it's
a Harry Carey. Yeah,
might have been.
It's Harry Carey.
That was pretty cool. So, but yeah, no, I'm totally with you. They have a throwback. Even have, the Cardinals in the first inning, they even had like black and white picture and it was scratchy film, grainy kind of thing. It was really neat. I liked it. It was just it was one inning and then they progressed to the next whatever. It was cool.
Vin Scully, by the way, that was Vin Scully.
Vin Scully, yeah, Vin Scully was great. He still does games. I think he still does games, but we are privileged to be able to still hear Vin Scully games in 2020. That's no doubt. Ridiculous. Yeah. So another comment, you mentioned Brad Warthog earlier. He jumps in here and welcome, Brad, by the way. I don't know if you've ever joined us in the YouTube chat before, but good to have you. He says, what do you think about locking down Robert Thomas now to a long-term deal at a lower dollar amount that he probably will get in a few years? I am all for it. Yeah.
I think Doug Armstrong is probably all for it.
I don't think Thomas would.
Not. Robert Thomas is not all for it. Thomas, maybe the person he is, he would, but his agent will shoot him down and say, no, that is a terrible idea.
Yeah, the NHLPA would not be happy with that.
No, and especially if we start seeing him moving up more and more in the lineup and we start seeing him on the top line, maybe with the Tarasenko injury, we'll see, but you start seeing him as a regular on the top line, there's no way his agent will give him the green light to go ahead and start talking about a contract.
No.
And Jesse Hill, by the way, says, hey, everyone, Jesse, thanks for joining us, buddy. Good to see you. Locker Room Supply.
Yeah, I'm on my third beer. Third beer, Locker Room Supply from Center Ice Brewery in St. Louis, Missouri. So
I haven't had a Locker Room Supply since we were in like strict quarantine when I was getting beer every weekend from Center Ice.
From the Violent Gentlemen Club.
That's a good one.
Yeah. It's a lager. It's pretty good. Oh, I gotta support the Center Ice folks. If you're in St. Louis and you drink beer, go support Center Ice Brewery. Fantastic folks there. Fantastic brewery. Blues themed. A lot of awesome stuff in there. Some good beer. So go help them out.
I had a great moment when I went in there last. We went in there. I brought my 8-year-old with me to a bar. But I was picking up some to-go beer, and I decided to kind of come in. It was the first time I'd been in the tasting room since March, I guess, probably early March, and because they just reopened officially just a couple weeks ago. So I brought my son in, and I mentioned on the show before, he's got Down syndrome and autism. He fell in love with that place. He is not a very vocal child. He was walking around and he just goes, Dad, Dad. I look over and he's pointing at these skates that Steve has hanging up clearly from the 1940s. And, they're the ones with the giant blades on the bottom. And he's skates. Yeah, Shay, those are skates. And then he saw the bubble hockey table. Bubble. Yeah, it's bubble hockey. I mean, he was in love with the place. So if an 8-year-old with autism and Down syndrome is going to love with it, you're going to love it too. So check out Center Ice Brewery next time you're in St. Louis if you're not local.
When they do allow folks back inside again to drink at the bar, you can drink and put your beer down on actual arena wood, old arena wood from the old arena.
They are open, Kurt.
They're open right now? Okay. You can go inside and actually drink.
Only until 9 p.m.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know where they were in the phases. Okay.
Yep. They're in a phase where I think they allow up to 50%. But
okay,
yes,
awesome.
They're open.
Yeah, you can go in there and you can. The bar is made of the old barn arena wood, so that's pretty awesome. The Blues in the intra draft, first round last night. The Blues had the 26th overall pick and ended up making 7 picks in all after a couple of trades they made. Round 1, Jake Neighbours, really I will focus on this pick because it's the first round pick and they didn't have another pick until the third round. So, and we all know how often third round picks make it to the NHL and what kind of players they are. But Jake Neighbours, first round pick, worth talking about a little bit. So we traded a Jake and we gained a Jake. 18-year-old left-handed forward from the Edmonton Oil Kings, 6-footer, 195, deceptively fast, who likes to get in on the forecheck, according to DobberProspects.com. He plays with an edge and knows how to operate in any role offensively. The Blues have taken forwards with their last 6-round selections, which is interesting.
Their last 6 first round
selections. Right. Yeah. Fabry in 14, Tage Thompson in 16, Robert Thomas in 17, Clem Costin in 17, and Dominic Balk in 18. The last non-forward taken was who, Jeff? In the first round. Who would you say?
In the first
round, last non-forward. It was 2012.
Oh my God.
2012.
I hate you. I hate you for putting this on me. 2012. Oh my goodness. First round. I don't even know if I have a good guess. I'm going to say.
Do you want the initials?
Just give me a hint. What's the first letter of his first name?
J.
Jake Wallman.
No.
J. Pandolfo.
J-O.
Yaroslav Upsuit?
No. J-O-R. It's going to be like lingo.
J-O-R. Okay, his first name is J-O-R.
Yeah.
Oh, is it Jorgen?
No.
No? Okay, keep going.
J-O-R-D. You get it now.
Jordan Schmaltz.
Yes, there you go.
I should have known that.
It was 8 years ago.
I like how I went with Yaroslav Upsuit before I got to Jordan Schmaltz. That is a player the Blues drafted, just so you know.
Yeah. Wow. You pulled that out of the fire.
I'm going to look up when he was drafted. Good Lord.
Oh, man. Neighbours said, I'm ready for whatever amount of work I need to put in or however long this is going to take, because at the end of the day, to pull over that Blues jersey will be insane, and to play an NHL game with them would be absolutely crazy. Sounds like a kid that's ready to play. Neighbours says he models his game after Matthew Tkachuk, which was interesting because automatically a number of folks on social media were like, he's not as good as Matthew Tkachuk. What's he talking about? He's no Matthew Tkachuk. I'm like, he's not saying he's as good as Matthew Tkachuk, guys. He's saying that he models his play, likes to think, he tries to emulate Matthew Tkachuk. That's his.
Well, okay. Let me first of all, Yaroslav Upsuit was a 1995 round 8 draft pick by the Winnipeg Jets, but was later acquired by the St. Louis Blues.
You were only 17 years off.
How I pulled that one out, I have no fucking clue. Okay. Jeff R, real quick. Jeff R in the YouTube chat. Just want to point out we will get to that, so stick around.
We do have that.
But yeah, right now we're talking draft. I mean, it's like the next pick, Dylan Peterson. I believe it was him that they were talking about him during the draft, and they said he models his game after Blake Wheeler. And instantly I saw somebody say, well, he can't be as good as Blake Wheeler. He was picked in the 3rd round. You don't understand. The way these guys play, the way they say I model myself after such and so. I look at this guy and I try to play like him. You know what? When I was a kid, I modeled my game after Chris Pronger. And I'm not even kidding. I did everything I could.
But you're not as good as Chris Pronger. And you're not even close to being good as Chris Pronger.
Shock, right? I'm 35 and I still have never been paid to play hockey. Are you saying you're as good
as Chris Pronger? You're ridiculous.
I must be as good as Chris Pronger. Clearly. But no, and that's what I'm saying.
I modeled my game after Adam Oates. Adam Oates.
You're as good as Adam Oates?
No, I'm not. But that's who I like to play like.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with me. I always said I try to play like Chris Pronger. And it's because you develop a style and you say, okay, what's my style like? And my style was Chris Pronger. But guess what? I was never good enough to ever make it past playing in Bantam and Men's League. And it's the same way with a lot of these guys. Doug Lynch, guy acquired in the Pronger deal, if you remember that. Mm-hmm. I remember he made a comment that he modeled his game after Rob Blake. There was nobody that was like, oh, yeah, this guy's just as good as Rob Blake.
Whatever.
No. The guy never even played in the NHL. So, no, nobody ever thought he was going to be as good as Rob Blake. It just, that's a comparison. It's a comparison tool to know what type of player you're getting.
Jesse Hill in the YouTube chat says, mine was Lemieux, and I'm just as good.
Wow. There's our comment of the show. Good job, Jesse Hill.
The Scouts missed the boat on you.
You want to come play for my men's league team, man? We could really use you.
Did you also beat the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma as well?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna go full Lemieux, I mean that's the full package. The NBCSN guys, when he was drafted, they said a comparable player to him would be Milan Lucic.
Milan Lucic.
Oh yeah,
but right. You know what? Now that Kurt has a typo here.
Typo.
Milan. You've got Mulan in there, and that's what I'm going to call him from now on.
I do have Mulan. I read that. I'm like Mulan. Like as I'm saying, I'm like, well, that's not right.
No.
Mulan, that doesn't sound right. But that's what I wrote, so it must be right.
We are officially, he is officially now Mulan to me. So
anyway, so people were disappointed at that comparison. Are you disappointed at that comparison, Jeff?
I am not. No.
Why not? Why aren't you? Why
because that guy was a dominant top 6 forward for 6 years in the NHL at least, and then he was a serviceable player for another 3 years after that. I mean, a guy of that caliber that can play a physical game, score 30 goals and 60 points, and play in your top 6. Yeah, maybe he's not gonna score 100 points. But he's a guy who you can insert on your top 6, your top 3 even, to play on a top. Look at, when you go back and you look at the career Milan Lucic had with Boston, and even the 1 year he was in LA, he was dominant. I mean, you hated the guy. If you weren't a Bruins fan or a Kings fan, you hated that motherfucker because he was causing havoc around the crease at all times. And if he wasn't banging the puck in the net, he was allowing his teammates to get open and get the puck to the net and score big goals. He was out there with was his line, was it Bergeron and Krejci? Could be wrong on that, but well, yeah, I don't think it was right. But either way,
well, if you're gonna get me on Milan, I'm gonna get you on Krejci.
Krejci, sorry, Krejci, same thing. But anyway, no, it's to say, because I really don't want to pick on anybody. I know Kurt does,
but Jeff, we pick on people on this show. We don't pull punches. We don't answer to bosses that our balls aren't cut off on this show, which should be a segue to our sponsor, to be honest. But
I like it.
Our balls are not, other blues talk shows on the radio and the TV, their balls are cut off. Our balls are intact on this show. So our
balls are very cleanly kept.
They are cleanly shaven and intact. Thanks to the Lawnmower 3.0 shaver.
Promo code LGB over at manscaped.com.
Manscaped.com. Promo code up at the top of the YouTube video, LGB. 20% off and free shipping. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
I totally forgot my point now. No, and we're not going to pick on anybody. Well, I won't pick on anybody, but I will say there has been a very vocal writer, and I'm sorry, I'm going to use air quotes because that's true.
Ooh, that's nasty. The air quotes on writer.
I'm sorry, but just because you have a blog doesn't mean you're a writer. And I'm going to be elitist here, Mr. English degree.
Are you telling me the Blogspot?
That is not the case.
Are you telling me Blogspot people aren't legit blogger?
Lou Korak is. Because he has a blog spot.
He does. He needs, you know what? The Korak's fantastic. He needs something with a real URL. I mean, you know what I mean?
He needs to buy. We should just buy lkorak10.com and then just tell him, hey, we're going to redirect this to your blog.
Yeah. And he needs a new site design. It's kind of GeoCities like still. So
let's work on that for him.
We should talk. Yeah.
Anyway, Lou, I know you're listening. We'll talk, buddy. Anyway,
he's been on the show,
but no,
hasn't he?
He has been on the show.
That's right.
He's been on the show.
Yep.
But no, anyway, it's just
friend of the show.
Somebody, friend of the show, Lou Korak, yes. Somebody wrote something on Game Time recently that said that this was a bad pick because and the opening line was, it's a bad comparison when your comparison is Milan Lucic. I strongly disagree. If the Blues had Milan Lucic in the days of David Backes and TJ Oshie, and you could throw Lucic on that top line with Oshie and Steen, or Steen and McDonald, or whoever, that is a fucking ridiculous top line.
But Jeff,
I take that every day of the week.
Jeff, he has amazing skating. He has good stick handling.
Again, as someone who is actually a writer, that hurts me.
Spoken like somebody. Let's fucking be honest. Reading that's somebody who has never played. Sounds like somebody's mom who's just like is passively a fan.
He has great stick handling.
He has good stick handling, and he has amazing skaking.
That
Who talks
like
that?
Mom.
Who talks like that?
That is something my mom would say.
Passive fans, right? I mean, just not people who are trying to pass themselves off as experts on a blog. Come on.
I see this as a conversation in ice rink in 1999 with my mom. Hey, Mary, what's your son really good at? He has good defense. he has good passing. Yeah, I could see my mom saying those things.
He's really good at the puck on the stick stuff. That's what he is. He can really do that well.
Yep.
Whatever.
But no, and again, I'm not just saying this one blog, this one person. Something in the social media age that has become huge is all of a sudden, about 3 to 4 weeks a year, people become draft experts, and they're not. Now, there are people who are. Peter Harling, friend of the show. He's a guy that you should follow on Twitter. I think he's just Farling with PH. Guys that work at Dauber Prospects, guys that work at the Hockey Writers. Most of those guys, they are true draft experts. They get credentials to games. They go see these kids play. But most of the things you're going to see online are people who watch highlight tapes on YouTube and call themselves draft experts. That's not a draft expert. You don't know just because, and then they come out and say, well, the Blues need to draft this guy at this point if he's still available. And if they don't take that one guy that they want, they're like, oh, they had a bad draft. No, just because they didn't take your one guy you saw a highlight reel from that you liked doesn't mean they had a bad draft. I'm going to tell you right now, I have no fucking clue if the Blues had a good draft or not. And I pay attention to this
Nobody
stuff.
does.
I do pay attention to prospects. I've heard the name Jake Neighbours before, but I'm not going to sit here and say the Blues had a good or a bad draft. We don't know. We won't know for 5 years from now.
You know what's funny is that, well, I tweeted this out last night after reading a lot of the stuff, and this happens all the time. Every draft year, like you said, people all of a sudden, okay, so this is what I tweeted. Hockey fans impress me. It's crazy how fast they become experts on a player they had never heard of that their team just drafted late in the round one, and then tell you how much he sucks compared to other players available whom they're also somehow experts on. So the point is that so fans who actually pay attention to the draft or that, so they will read up, write-ups on players and things, and they'll do what most of us do. They'll go to the various sites, they'll read up little write-ups on players, and then they'll see, and they'll get these rankings. I have right here, like a player rankings. Very, this is from, who's this from? Oh, it's not marked on here. I forgot. So
let's
anyway,
go blues.com.
Nah, no, I'm not gonna steal someone else's work, but anyway, it's a very well-respected draft list. So I'm going by it, and it's fine, but but people read this stuff, and if the Blues pick a player off the board a little bit off of this list, oh my gosh, they're like, why didn't they pick so and so? You don't know who so and so is. You just saw him when you printed this thing out. You know what I mean? So don't tell me that your casual fans or even passionate fans that print out these lists or go like a couple days before on the various reviews, the player prospect sites, to look at what players are available and who the Blues might take, and to act like they're an expert when the Blues pick somebody else. The Blues have been scouting and looking at players for months, years. So don't act like you know more than they do about. There's not a fan out there who has done more research on Neighbours than the Blues. Not a Blues fan. I don't think. Maybe there's some crazy guy in the basement that all he does is look at the reviews players. But even then, he's not going to watch them play. So the Blues have scouts that go watch him play. I'm not saying they made a great pick with Neighbours. He could be a good pick. I don't know. He sounds good on paper. He's saying the right things, but you're not going to know for a few years how he's going to be. So calm down.
Here's a perfect example. When I was in the media, and I went on a draft special show and I knew that I was going to, because I was going to the draft in Philadelphia. I did as best I could. I talked to all the right people. I called draft experts and talked to them on the phone. I had them send me any tape that they knew of that was more than just a highlight tape of players. I did all the research I could. And even in like 4 months of research, getting up to this point, I saw tape. I talked to people about Philip Forsberg, and I said, this guy is not a first-round pick. And if he's taken in the first round, whoever takes him is fucking stupid. And I said that so many words. And the Washington Capitals took him at number 8 or 9 or something that year. And I said, this is a third-line player at best. He's not going to be in the NHL in 5 years.
That sounds familiar. He's a third line player at best. Isn't that what everybody says as being critical of okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. No, and that's exactly it. Like I actually did, and I'm not trying to knock anybody who has tried to do the research. I went through the proper channels. I talked to the right people. I called actual draft experts in the NHL, and I talked to as many people as I could, and I found actual game tape of this kid.
Did you find 8 hours of game tape to watch?
I did not even find 8 hours. I found probably 2 hours of game tape
because there are people that watch 8 hours of game tape on all the players out there.
That's what I'm told. And I was dead fucking wrong, even though I did the research that I thought I should put in. So even if you do the research, we still don't know. And that's why the draft is such a crapshoot. I mean, again, Marek Schwartz, another name that I brought up earlier. We thought this guy was going to be the next franchise NHL goalie. Did he even play in more than 5 NHL games before he left and went to Germany? I don't think so. You don't know. And I'll say, I got lucky that year too, because I was kept saying the Blues should draft Barbashev with the number 1 pick and not Robbie Fabry. And they did take Fabry first, and I was like, okay, not bad. I still like Barbashev better. Then they got Barbashev at the number 33 that year, second round. And I was like, hey, maybe I'll turn out to be right. And I was. And again, it's not because I'm like some guru. It's because I did the research, and I honestly got lucky, because most of these guys don't pan out.
Yeah.
Some do.
I was talking with somebody on Twitter about how they said that if Bill Armstrong were still here, we wouldn't have taken Jake Neighbours.
That's not true.
That's not true at all, because, and I told them that, and they didn't want to listen. But because if you're paying attention, you would have heard that Doug Armstrong said himself that their draft strategy and their player rankings list was developed while Bill Armstrong was still here, because the draft was supposed to happen a few months ago. So they had their list ready to go pretty much 3 months ago when Bill Armstrong was still here. So if he was still here, that's who they were looking at. And they even talked about it. The scouts, in the interview after the draft, talked about how they were excited that Neighbours was still available when they went to pick. And I know on this particular draft list, Neighbours is listed as 51st, and in a different tier even of this. So I think a lot of the Blues fans, based on some of the rankings, I think that's pretty typical. He was not quite as high as the Blues had him. So I think a lot of people's comments are, well, the Blues could have traded down and still gotten him. Maybe. But if the Blues are high on him, that means that some other teams might have been high on him too, and they could have taken him if they had passed on him or traded down. So I don't know. I'm going to default to, especially a late first round pick, I'm going to default to the Blues research, because they've sent scouts to go look at him in person. They've done their due diligence with this. I mean, I'm coming at it from looking at other people's research, and how credible that is just anybody's guess. So it doesn't matter what site you go to, unless you go watch the player in person. I mean, you're going by somebody else's analysis anyway. So what's the point?
And I'll add too that a player that was the Blues were criticized for taking too early was TJ Oshie. There was another player before that the Blues took too early in the first round because he had an insane year before, and they took him anyway because they thought, well, if this is the player we could get, then that's what we want. Who cares about what happened before last year? And that was David Perron. David Perron was not even on draft board sites the year he was taken in the first round. Like, people thought that's a third round player at best. And the Blues jumped up and took him in the first round. Guess what? He's on the team the next season. I mean, it's you don't know. You really don't know. So to flat out say the Blues did well or the Blues did shitty, you just don't know.
You're talking 3-4 years from now. It's like players can develop any which direction. The write-up on Neighbours looks good. I mean, you like what you see. He's not projected to be an elite player, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. I'm not, who knows? I mean, Datsuk was a 6th round pick, was he not? So something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And then, Datsuk was 6th, and what's his face? Oh God, same year or different year? Next year, 7th round. Zetterberg was like 7th round, something like that. So who the hell knows? I want
to say one of them was 9th round.
What? Either way, sometimes it's a crapshoot. Especially, I mean, now, if the Blues were picking top 5, top 10, then there's a discussion for who looks better because whatever. But we're late 1st round. Come on, I mean, who knows?
Zetterberg was 7th round.
Okay.
And
Datsuk was?
Pavel Datsuk was 6th round.
Damn, yep. I was spot on. Son of a bitch. 6 and 7.
Nice work.
Look at that. So round 2, the Blues had no picks. They traded their pick, which was originally the 57th pick, to Montreal in exchange for Marco Scandella. Round 3, pick number 86 from Montreal was Dylan Peterson, a center at 6'4", 192. Models his game after San Jose's Joe Thornton.
Oh, so he's gonna be in the NHL 100. At least deserves it, right?
Sure, right? Yeah, top 100 ever. A major assist guy, surely a fan favorite of Jeff Ponder.
No, actually, from what I heard, nice.
And he'll probably go after Perron at some point.
He's gonna hit a Blues draft pick later and probably deserves a suspension.
He'll be out for a year.
I did, and I don't want to spend too much time on these guys because we don't know.
No.
So Dylan Peterson, from what I heard, draft experts were saying that was a great pick in the 3rd round for the Blues.
Lance DeScott from the Drop Podcast also says that the 2 round 3 draft picks by the Blues were excellent. So there's that.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
But I mean, I'm not sure where Lance's contacts are.
This next pick, I am very excited about because he has a great name.
One of the best names. Not quite Zarley Zalapsky level, but he's Leo Loof, round 3, number 88, defenseman from Sweden. Loof's twin brother Linus was also in the draft. The Blues didn't take him. Man, if they had drafted Linus and Leo Loof.
You're talking about the next Paul and Gino, right?
That'd have been awesome. How do you not? I mean, you should have at least in the your 7th round pick just take Linus Loof. Was he taken at all? Linus Loof? He was eligible.
I don't know. Let me look.
Yeah,
keep going.
Anyway, round 4, Tanner Dickinson, center, 6', 169. Ooh, who is a tall guy? Dylan Pearson, 6'4", 192 is a center. A 6'4" center. That's a big guy for a centerman. Anyway, okay. Round 4, Tanner Dickinson, center. Round 5, Matthew Kessel, defenseman. Round 6, Will Cranley is a goalie, the only goalie we took in the draft. 6'4", big goalie. 185. Round 7, pick number 194. The Blues' last pick was Noah Beck, defenseman. So the Blues traded their 7th round pick, number 203, to the Red Wings for a 7th round pick in 2021. Who knows the logic there?
Which is, I mean, the Blues probably figure it's a good move for them because the Red Wings will have a slightly higher pick next year.
I guess.
Right? Because they're going to be worse than the Blues.
I suppose.
So that's the reason the Blues. And I'm sure the Red Wings there was a player they wanted at that pick. So they just said, sure, just give us your 7th round next year.
If there's a player that you really want in the 7th round, I'm wondering what the odds are that other team is going to take him ahead of you. Can't be that good.
Who knows?
Who knows? Head scout Terry Feltrin, the Blues, recaps the Blues 2020 NHL draft by saying, good balance for the Blues, good prospects. I think we got character kids with skill, kids with size, and lots of ability. Literally every team in the NHL could say this right now about their draft class, right?
Yep.
So we'll see how it goes.
That's the company line right there. Linus Loof was not drafted today.
See, we could have had him for next. We could sign him for nothing.
Still sign him.
Yes.
Yep.
Linus and Leo Loof. Oh God, I want that so bad.
That would be amazing. I'd love that to be the third pairing.
Oh my God. Is he even a defenseman? Is he? What is he? A forward defenseman?
That's an excellent question. Let's find out.
As I ask these questions, and you can find this info out on the fly, I will start the Pietrangelo and free agency talk.
Linus Loof is a setter.
Okay. All right. Well.
Yep.
So it would be the Cavalinis, forward and defenseman.
Yeah, it really would be. Yep.
Pietrangelo, Alex, free agency. It's down to the wire, Jeff. We've got 37 hours now? Is that my math right?
Something like that.
Is our we haven't traded his rights yet, so that's semi interesting. There's a possibility of a sign and trade, which we talked about earlier, to give teams a better AAV due to the Blues' ability to sign him for 8 years. We've said, I think we both said, I think we all three said that, Bill, you and I, that we thought that the Blues would actually sign Pietrangelo. Has that opinion changed for you right now?
Okay. If we were having this conversation 29 hours ago, before the draft, I would have said 100% absolutely not. I still think it's going to happen because Doug Armstrong is going to make a big deal during the draft at some point to free up more salary, and then it'll just be a matter of putting ink to paper. That obviously did not happen. There's no, yes, there was trades today, but there was no salary moving deals. So I'm still in the boat that I still think it gets done. I think at the end of the day, Pietrangelo wants to stay here. Obviously, the Blues want him. And a part of it, and I know the money talks. Don't get me wrong here, but I know also that there's potential here that if the Pietrangelo knows, he could come here and sign 8 years and play the worst hockey of his life. He's still getting a statue. He's still going to be remembered as the greatest captain in Blues history because he's the first one to touch the Stanley Cup. There is a legacy here that he could have that he won't have anywhere else. And I do think that is a part of it. When it's been days and months and weeks of thinking about when is my next contract going to be, that's a part of it that weighs on your mind eventually. So I think he truly does want to stay here, and we all know Armstrong wants him to stay here. It's just a matter of finding the right money, working the deal out right, and it's just a matter of finding that money free, getting it free to where he can sign him.
Well, the thing though is that obviously it's a money issue. So if Pietrangelo's not going to budge off of his, let's say, asking for $10 million. I mean, okay. So if they're saying we're not going a cent under $10 million per year, I'm like, see ya. I'll trade your rights, and we'll.
I agree.
Because I don't think with the flat cap, the league, even without the flat cap, I wouldn't pay $10 million for that length of time.
No, not at all.
And with a flat cap, forget about it. Because I'm in the 8.5 range for him, to be honest. And and what rumors are that he's in the 9.95 range, whatever. But if it's more than that, forget about it. Excuse me. But I've said the whole time. I said weeks ago that I thought the Blues would circle around and they would try and sign him. And then just not too long ago, you heard people reporting, "Oh, we're hearing that the Blues are going to make one last push to sign Pietrangelo before Friday." And I'm like, "Do you think?" Because that's just a common sense, right? I mean, based on what you said, Jeff, it just makes all the sense in the world for the Blues to try to sign him. And again, I say this with not knowing exactly what Pietrangelo's camp is asking for. There's rumors as far as what they think they're asking for and whatnot. But we know that Armstrong doesn't doesn't leak anything to the press or to anyone about anything negotiations. If anything's coming out, it's from the agents, it's from a different party. It's never from Armstrong. So you take that with a grain of salt. It's all, I mean, some agents like to negotiate through the media and the press. I know Armstrong hates that. And who knows how true that is, because it's one side. So, anything you're hearing from people, it's like, I mean, how accurate is it? We don't know. But like I said, 10 million or more, I'm no. I'm a no on him. Even though I'd love to have him back, love to, and I'd like to see the Blues. I mean, if they were to sign tomorrow morning, say we've signed Pietrangelo 8 years, $9 million per, great, I'd love it. Even though it's more than the 8.5 I want, I think I would love to see that. But if they were to say we signed him for 10 million per, I'd be like, oh my god, 10 million per.
Yeah, it's like a little much.
Oh shit, that is rough. And if I'm Pietrangelo, I understand. I mean, and this is something that's always talked about with players and contracts, and fans think, how much money do you need? And there's something to that, but then there's on the other hand, is like, well, you're also asking Pietrangelo to like walk away from potentially $8 million, right? That's a lot of money to just like, I'll play here for $8 million less than what I can get somewhere else. It's like, that's asking a lot of a guy too. I mean, how much of a hometown discount do you want? So,
well, not to mention too, real quick, not to mention like the state tax thing with like Vegas and Florida, how you don't pay the income tax. And so you're talking more than what you would. I mean, he'd be getting so much more from places like, Vegas is a front runner, but any place like that where you're not paying the state tax that you're paying here in Missouri.
Jesse Hill says in the YouTube chat, do you think they want Alex to see his value on the market, maybe 8.3 and not 9 or higher, and the two sides will come back together to get it done? If that happens, if they let Pietrangelo test free agency and then Pietrangelo decides to come back and sign here, that's going to cost him a year on a contract, because really the leverage the Blues have is that they can offer him 8 years. Once noon on Friday hits and they don't have him signed, they can't offer him 8 years anymore. The max they can offer him is 7 years. So he's given up a year on his contract.
Are you 100% sure on that?
Positive. If once he becomes a UFA, the Blues are like every other team. They can't sign him to 8 years. Positive. It's 7 years.
Because I thought Stamkos signed an 8-year deal after July 1st.
I don't think it was after July 1st. I don't think it was after the free agency started. Was it?
I thought it was, but I could be wrong.
Did he sign 8 years? I know for a fact that once noon hits, the Blues they can't sign him for 8 years. That's the whole point.
Okay. No, and that's fine. But no, I'm with you. And that's what I've said since this whole conversation started, was I think that's the whole point. Like, that's why they moved Jake Allen. That's why they're looking into probably making other trades right now, because they want to get him locked up before he can talk to other teams. So I did find out that, and it's been kind of asked about now, there's always the last CBA, they agreed to have that grace period, like that 5-day period where players are allowed to talk to other teams before free agency. They can't sign anything, but they're allowed to kind of see what their value is. Apparently they did away with that for this year because of all this madness. So that's why we haven't heard that Pietrangelo's been talking to other teams. He can't until free agency opens on Friday. And I'm with you. I think it's coming down to tomorrow, to Thursday.
Yeah.
Let's get him signed so that way he's not having other people talk, because we have the leverage of signing him to 8 years.
Yeah.
And I think if it's late in the hour tomorrow, honestly, I could see them moving his rights. Because why not? At that point, you're not signing him back.
Kylo Rat in the YouTube chat says Stamkos signed 2 days before July 1st.
Okay. So he had gotten the period. I guess, okay, that's what it was. He got to the period where he could talk to other teams, but he didn't officially sign because he couldn't yet.
And Jesse Hill says, because maybe he doesn't care about that 8th year. It's possible. I mean, the whole point behind the 8th year is to lower the AAV, so your cap hit would be less. That's a benefit. I mean, and that's the whole point behind if it were to sign and then trade. So the Blues could sign him and then trade him. If another team wanted him, so another team will be in on the contract negotiations as far as what they wanted to pay him. And if they agreed, the Blues could sign that contract to 8 years and then boom, trade him to the team that basically negotiated the contract. Which could happen still, but I mean we're getting pretty close to the end of the road here for that. So we'll see. It'll be interesting if nothing happens tomorrow. Man, the morning of Friday. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Can you imagine the social media is going to be exploding?
If anyone from my job is listening, I just want you to know I ain't getting shit done Friday morning.
Oh my God. But you know what? Okay, let's say Pietrangelo signs elsewhere. That also opens the door to, we've got a chunk of money to spend now. So you could go after Hall to help replace Tarasenko's absence. You could do all kinds of stuff. So I mean, and we can cover that in our next show next week. But that's going to be quite the interesting situation. The Blues have some money to spend if they indeed decide to spend at the cap again, which I mean, you assume they will. I mean, there's no inclination they won't. So that'll be. I mean, I guess that's a silver lining to this whole thing. If Petro leaves, then we can have some fun talking about who can the Blues get, who can they sign.
Yeah, and well, I mean, you also have to add too. It's I'm trying to pull it up right now, but I'm pretty sure I have a fair idea of free agents coming up. Yeah, I mean, for one, Dustin Byfuglien. That's a name that could be floated back.
Is he going to play though? I
don't know. They say that maybe he won't, but I could see there being a possibility.
He'd be even though he's been like flaky and hasn't played in a while. He'd have a bunch of teams wanting to sign him.
And then there's a couple of names you mentioned: Taylor Hall, Tyson Barrie from Toronto. I mean, you could slot Colton Parayko into Pietrangelo's minutes, and then have Barrie pick some minutes up there. Torrey Krug from Boston is another guy that you could look at. These guys are going to be commanding a lot of money, but you're probably going to get them less than what Pietrangelo is going to sign them for. So, yeah. I mean, these are guys that the Blues will probably be looking at right away if they do have to trade Pietrangelo's rights, or they just don't sign him.
And that's an interesting thing too, because a lot of people say that, if Petro leaves, our window is closing. I'm like, well, hold on. Now, I love Petro, and he's really shown up the past couple of years. But let's stop, because our window is not opening or closing or changing until we figure out or find out who the Blues are going to add to this roster, to fill his cap space. The Blues, I mean, I guess you could argue that the Blues could add a couple players and be better. in some respects, especially offensively. They could add some offensive pieces, and they get Tarasenko back, and boom. So I'm not. If they lose Petro, yeah, that's a hit. You can't replace him on the back end, but you can add elsewhere, and that will be interesting to see what the Blues look like at that point.
Yeah, and that's the key, is how the Blues react. And I will admit, even though I've been singing Doug Armstrong's praises since the Cup win, that's where he has really lacked to me, is kind of a reaction to needing a spot and then kind of quickly signing somebody. I mean, you look at the one that comes to mind is Vladimir Sobotka bolting for Russia. And then, better sign Steve Ott for 3 years, $7 million or whatever that was. Yeah. Ridiculous. And then the Blues needing a center and him going and getting Derek Roy for $4 million. I mean, that's the kind of thing that Doug Armstrong's done in the past that has been awful. So you have to hope that that's not going to be the case if this happens, that he's not just going to throw a bunch of money at it in an average defenseman to try and fill those minutes. And hopefully he has a good reactionary kind of plan B to if Pietrangelo walks.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope that he's gotten smarter since the Derek Roy signing.
Hope.
But so talking about that, the as far as while we're on Pietrangelo, Larry Brooks from the New York Post has, and I haven't found this info anywhere else.
And it's just thrown into an article that wasn't even about Pietrangelo.
Right. So so he says there has been so much talk about St. Louis right defenseman Alex Pietrangelo, the premier free agent on the market, fleeing to Vegas when the market opens on Friday, that I'm hearing substantial talk the Blues might be prepared to, all kinds of caveats there, right? I'm hearing might be prepared to file tampering charges if that's the way it shakes out. There are a shit ton of outs in this comment. You know that? Did you see that? If we maybe
lots
if it
of
shakes out
phrases in there for those of you who are English followers.
So I mean, you brought this up earlier today, Jeff, and I remember I told you I remember seeing this a few days ago, and I saw it, and I was doing something else, and I forgot to follow up on it and talk to you guys about it. But that was, that's interesting, because I mean, as far as like turnabout's fair play, it'd be great if we could get compensation for somebody else, tampering with one of our players for a change, because we've paid the price for that in the past.
Well, and let's add what Bill said. Bill said, wouldn't it be the perfect NHL thing to do for the NHL to just turn around and kind of put a slap on the wrist of Vegas, whereas we've seen multiple draft picks leave because of something like this in the past.
Yes.
But yeah, I'd like to get more information on that, because that's all I've seen that. And to me, and granted, it's the New York Post, and we can sit here and make fun of certain news sources all night, but
it's for discussion.
It is. And I'm just, that is a huge allegation to me to throw that out. and again, if you read the article, it's an article about former Rangers winning the Stanley Cup with Tampa. And that's like at the bottom of the article. And then he just goes back to talking about something else.
I know. It's like, I kept reading it. I'm like, ooh, is there more about potential? No, there's not. I'm like,
that's
what?
It.
I want a whole article on this.
Yeah, and so that's all I've seen on it. I don't know if anybody else, if anybody else listening right now has a link to maybe anywhere else this was said. That's the only place I've seen it. And Larry Brooks, I mean, listen, love him or hate him, he's been around the league for a long time. He's got some good sources, but the fact that he's the one leaking this and not Jeremy Rutherford or Korak or Strickland or none of the Vegas guys are the ones leaking this. I mean, it's, I don't know. I take it with a grain of salt at this point, but that is a huge allegation to make.
I agree. So where could he go? So, I mean, Vegas has been the talk of the town recently. Toronto has been the talk of the town the whole time, even though Toronto has major cap space issues. And the hometown team thing is that card overplayed? You always hear that with every sport. Oh man, he could sign with his hometown team. How often do players do that? I mean,
John Tavares is the only one that comes to mind.
Sometimes players do, but most of the time they don't. It's like, oh yeah, he could play for the hometown team, and he doesn't. He could,
and especially with Toronto.
Yeah, right.
Toronto being the fishbowl that it is, players don't want to play there.
I mean, even though Toronto's like, it's funny because the article I read says that Toronto's on the cusp of being a Stanley Cup contender for a while. I'm like, haven't they been on the cusp, in air quotes, for like 10 years?
When was the last time they were in the second round?
Yeah, Toronto's Toronto. Until they get there, they're a disappointment. So in Vegas, I read an article that says they seem to think that Pietrangelo is the final piece to their Stanley Cup puzzle in Vegas. Also, this was interesting. Same article at VegasHockeyNight.com talked a bit about it, and their first line, the very first thing they said in the article was, "It was another disappointing year for the Vegas Golden Knights." It's like, fuck you. Fuck you. You've been in the NHL 3 fucking seasons, been in the finals once, conference finals twice, and the playoffs all 3 years. Fuck you with the another disappointing year bullshit. Try going through 50 plus years without a cup and tell me about fucking disappointing season.
Dude,
3 seasons you've been in the league.
I have seen them. I look at them as like the most successful franchise ever.
Jesus.
Yes, they haven't won a championship, but my God, 3 years, and you've made the playoffs in 3 years. That alone,
they've been in the finals
fantastic.
once, conference finals twice, and
once.
Well, the conference finals twice.
Yeah, yes. I guess you're right. Yeah, twice. Yeah.
So finals, conference finals twice, and then they have been a very fucking successful franchise. Don't give me bullshit about disappointing season. Well, if you won the cup, sure, you're disappointed you didn't win it, but you can't call it a disappointing fucking season. You're a fucking expansion team 3 years out. You've had crazy amount of success. My God, you could be Ottawa. You could be Arizona. You could be anybody that has had no success, hardly, in the NHL since they've been in the league. My God, shut up. They're 50,000 over the cap right now, with 5 pending free agents to deal with. So if they wanted to sign, they'd have to do some major finagling to make cap room. Trade Stasny, Fleury, Marchessault, Schmidt, Smothers, and then you're gutting your team. And then if you sign Pietrangelo, is he then the final piece to the puzzle since you've gutted your team? I mean, then what? I don't know. They have to clear so much cap space to sign a couple players. This is going to be interesting as offseason for them. So
they are an interesting team because we've already seen them revamp once, and they're a good team. I mean, after they went to the Stanley Cup final, they made a lot of changes to the roster.
Yep,
and it was they'll have to make
a lot more.
They have to do it again.
Yeah, well,
they have to do it again.
Even if they don't sign Pietrangelo, they got 5 guys to sign, and they're over the cap already. So they got to make some moves.
Yep,
if they sign those guys.
I don't know. I guess Vegas, from what I'm hearing from others, that's a top runner. But again, I just don't see that unless Peter DeBoer is just dead set on, I need Alex Pietrangelo. Their defense has been fine without him. I don't understand the need. I think if anything, they could use another forward to score some big goals for him.
You can always clear salary. You can dump guys to whoever. They could be bad trades and mortgage your future. You can always clear a salary though. You can dump guys to sign guys if you want to. If you really want to, you can. But it's not. It might not be the smart move in the long run.
I just don't see. I don't see that panning out to be the final piece.
Well, that's the thing,
like
too.
You said, they'd be moving everything in order to do that.
Yeah, and that's what stuck out to me is because the article talks about it and they got 5 guys to sign. We're over the cap already. I'm like, how's that going to work? And you want to sign Pietrangelo too? Fuck. How are you going to do that? I mean, without like gutting your team, and then all of a sudden, he's not the final piece anymore. You need like 3 more pieces. And so I don't know. Whatever. We'll see how it goes. I think Toronto's a team. Obviously, they're always going to be there. I mean, they got cap issues too. Winnipeg was brought up. They have the space. They have the need after losing the entire right side of their defense last offseason.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, the problem with Winnipeg is, I mean, and I hate to say it because it's a fine city and I love having them in the Central Division.
There's no airport there.
Nobody wants to play in Winnipeg.
No, I mean, Wayne Gretzky.
That's theirs and Edmonton's problem.
Wayne Gretzky made a comment about when he played there, he left his car running the whole game because if he didn't, it wouldn't start. It was too cold.
Yep.
So, and they're looking to move Line A too. So that's all this stuff. If they're going to trade Line A, Pietrangelo goes there. I was like, hey, you're trading your best offensive weapon, who takes games off apparently in the playoffs, who didn't give a shit. But still, I mean, if you're Pietrangelo, that's a concern. You're trading away your best offensive asset. Philadelphia, I've seen some people try to make a case that this is possible, but they also say a lot has to happen for their payroll to fit him in. Boston, go ahead.
Philly's got some older veterans that maybe they could try and move, like a Giroux or a Voracek, but I don't see that either. I think again, there's just too much that would have to happen there. With this being a flat cap, it really complicates 90% of the teams in this.
Boston is interesting because the rumor is
they're the ones that most make me nervous.
The GM honest. Don Sweeney has said that he is going to make a play for Pietrangelo. But the rumor is that Pietrangelo's 2 choices, if you believe rumors, are either Toronto or Vegas. So the 2 really cap-strapped teams.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Boston makes me nervous just because they're losing the Krug contract.
Yep.
So again, that to me, it's like a sort of like a trade. If they take Pietrangelo, I think you really need to get into play for Krug just to kind of fill some minutes. Yep. But hey, I want to ask Boston though. Anyone from Boston listening? What happened the last time that you took a Blues captain in free agency?
Yeah, different situations, but yeah, that's funny. Jesse Hill says, let's see, if Islanders and Panthers, those 2 teams could sign him. I hadn't heard the Islanders or the Panthers. I heard the Islanders possibly for Lundqvist to sign there.
And that's the thing
with Lundqvist though. I've heard that Lundqvist, they say, he's supposed to sign with the Capitals on Friday.
Capitals, it's happening. He's going to sign with the Capitals.
That's what they're saying.
That's probably like the worst kept secret ever.
Right.
But anyway, that's the thing that more worries me, I think, is that I think it's going to be a team we're just not expecting. I mean, you look at, like, honestly, I know it sounds silly, what Ottawa did today. They have really, I mean, they got a Stanley Cup winning goaltender, and they've already got a good young core in place. They might make a pitch to Pietrangelo and say, we've got a shit ton of cap room. How would you like to come here? And I know that Ottawa is not a destination city, but I don't know. I just feel like if it's going to happen, if Pietrangelo is going to sign somewhere for a lot of money, it's going to be a team like Ottawa or the Islanders or the Panthers, and it's going to be a team we're just not expecting. I just think any of these big market teams, they can't make it work under their cap.
Well, they do have good poutine up there.
They do. That is very true. I was up in Gatineau a couple of years ago, which is basically a sister city of Ottawa, and my goodness, they have some good poutine.
So speaking of Lundqvist, the Rangers bought him out, and Washington is the heavily rumored destination. So I wonder how long afternoon on Friday he'll sign. What's the over-under on minutes? He'll sign in Washington afternoon.
I think it's already a done deal. I'm
just saying, when will it be announced?
I know, and I'm wondering if it's already a situation where the Rangers are like, go ahead and talk to whoever the hell you want. We're not going to care. And then they've probably already worked out a deal, so it's probably going to be like 5 or 10 minutes.
I bet you it's like 1:00. At least an hour.
So free agency starts at noon here.
Yep. Noon. I'm not sure if it's here. Maybe I don't know. 11 here. Probably noon Eastern.
I think it's 11 here.
Is it? Okay.
I think it's 11
Eastern.
here. So yeah, I'll you say an hour. I'll go under. I'll say 45 minutes.
Okay, that's cool. So the over under is 45 minutes. So you take that or under.
Yes.
Right. I'll take that or over. I'll take over that. Okay.
All
right. I owe you a beer too from something.
Go double or nothing on this.
Nah, it's. I mean, no, it's fine. I'm just. What was that from again? Who
starting in the round robin?
Yes, the goalie. Yes, against Dallas. That's right.
I said Jake Allen. You said Jordan Binnington.
Yeah. So if Lundqvist, hypothetical, if Lundqvist didn't sign in Washington, would you want him here?
That's a very interesting question. I mean, I posted on Twitter, right after the Jake Allen trade, that is a possibility, I think, more than people realize. And I think he's going to, obviously, if he's going anywhere, he's going to go to a winner. And it would be interesting. I'm going to walk back my original thought. I'm going to say no, that I don't want him here, just because the free agent market for goalies right now is going to be huge. I think there's going to be so many options. And I do think the Blues are going to bring in a veteran, even if it's just, again, we talked about this on the last live show, just to challenge Ville Husso, to make him work harder, to know that we've got a veteran ready to go if you falter in the NHL. So, but I just don't think Lundqvist is that guy. Like I think if Lundqvist comes here, the understanding is I'm staying in St. Louis. If you drop me, I am done. I'm not going to report to the AHL. Whereas I think there are other UFA goalies that would say, okay, yeah, I'll take a two-way deal. I hope to make the NHL, but if I have to start in the AHL, I'm fine with that too. I just don't think that's Lundqvist.
Rumored teams were Colorado, Washington, Vegas, Flyers, Edmonton. All are apparently interested in Lundqvist, but it looks like he's signing in Washington. The 2020-2021 NHL season has a tentative start date, was announced by Bettman yesterday as January 1st. So, as we mentioned earlier, which show, Jeff, months ago pegged January 1st as the start date for next season? Who was that? And suggested
I think it was the Hawaii Blues Fan Report.
No.
Damn. It was Let's Go Blues Radio guys.
Yes.
That was something we were dead set on too. We were like, there's no way this is getting played in December.
And then we had the long discussion about the Winter Classic possibly being the first game if they did play that game. And then I think, was it you? You and Bill both said you didn't think that they would play it. I think I said they would, or maybe I don't know. I think I made an argument.
You said they would. We said they wouldn't, and I'm still standing by. I just think they cancel it. I don't think it's going to happen. Not cancel. I think they postpone.
Yeah, I mean, it's October right now. We got a couple months yet before they probably had to make the decision. But yeah, it's tough. I
just don't think we see a 2021 Winter Classic.
It'd be tough. Any outdoor games, maybe, huh? No.
Yeah, I think they just focus on getting 48 to 60 games in, and there's no special events like that.
That'd be a shame. I hope they just postpone it. I hope they still give the Blues and the Wild the game.
It'd be awesome if we could. Well, and I think that if they postpone it, it'll be just another year. We'll see it in January 2022.
Right.
But it would be cool to still see it in like February or March.
Jesse Hill says the Islanders have good selling points. This is for Pietrangelo. Conference finals, cap space, need a D-man. So he goes, don't sleep on the Islanders. They are a dark horse, I guess, for Pietrangelo. But then again, if he's UFA, it's whoever he wants to play for. So
it's too late. He made a joke about, or he said something about don't sleep on the Islanders. I want to make a Anthony Beauvillier, Anna Kendrick joke, but I just don't have it in me. It's too late.
Oh, next up for the Blues, Winter Classic, maybe not, probably not, according to Jeff. We'll see. Next up for the Blues, though, I guess if you believe the rumor of November 15th for about when training camps would open, maybe in a month and a week or two, the Blues would be in camp. Well, that's nuts.
It's important to note, listeners of the show, or even if you're tuning in for the first time, we are here every week of the year, no matter what. And Bill and Kurt have both agreed. Hopefully we see Bill next week. That we're going to have a live show every day in October. There's going to be plenty of news for us to talk about. This is a very long episode. I thought with Bill not being here, the two of us would not be able to ramble on for two and a half hours, but we did it, Kurt.
We've had a lot to cover. I mean, it was.
Yeah, we have.
I loved the conversation. It was good stuff. And there was a lot to discuss, including the new sponsor.
Of course,
of course,
but no,
of course, there's so much to talk about, and then we got the new sponsor as well.
Yep. But no, I just want to reiterate everybody that every day or every week in October, we will have a live show, probably on Wednesdays. We'll see, but that is expected. Have a couple guests lined up that'll probably be joining us to talk a little bit more in depth about the Blues. And then, of course, once November and December hit, we'll probably have live shows if big news breaks. But either way, we will still have podcasted episodes and videos coming up every week, as I will have some special guests for that as well. But yeah, don't go anywhere, folks. We are here all the time, every week. As much as it pains us to have to put a show together, of course I kid. We love doing this. We will be back every week. So definitely tune in. Let's go bluesradio.com. I'm sorry, let's go blues.com/radio, as well as wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Facebook. We're everywhere.
Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code LGB at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code LGB. Your balls will thank you. That'll wrap up episode 6 of season 9 of the original St. Louis.
Hang on. I'm sorry, Kurt. I have to break in real quick. We've got Adam Gold on the Facebook chat, and he is demanding that I mention this on the live show. So what a wonderful, this is a great segue into our sponsor. Montreal picked 47 and 48 consecutive and selected Took My Sack. Took and My Sack were back to back.
Nice.
So there you go. It's funny. It's urgent. Bergevin is a genius. He is. He wanted to make sure I got that in before we closed up shop. So I had to give him the kudos.
Thank you, Adam. That'll wrap up episode 6, season 9 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who've participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the show. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. For Jeff Ponder and the On Assignment Bill Day, I'm Kurt Price. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues.
Let's sign Petro.
The Chiefs are at home tonight against Cyanosport at the War Memorial at 8. Good seats are still available. I think that went very well.
Thank you for listening to Let's Go Blues Radio. Now take off, hosers.
Well, there's 90 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Sorry.
St. Louis Blues, St. Louis Blues. Have you heard the news about our St. Louis Blues? They've only just begun. They're on their way to number one. Now there's no more blues for our St. Louis Blues. The Blues are on the ice tonight again. They're rough and tough and got the stuff to win.